Now then, YouTube. It's a terrible day outside. Raining cats and dogs, as they say here in England. Today I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to do a bit of a how-to on restoring pipes. These are the two pipes I'm going to be looking at, both Petersons, and some of you might have seen in the other video, they belonged to my friend James. They belonged to his great uncle. So we're going to restore them all and display them together and call them the Watson collection, because that was his uncle's second name. So when restoring a pipe, where do you start? What do you do? There's many different ways of doing it. This is just my personal way that I found best. It sort of seems to make sense to ream the bowl out and do the kosher salt treatment first, because if you'd finished the pipe and you got the alcohol on the finish, it might taint it. I have done it that way. One thing I found recently is, upon doing that, I spent 5 days soaking the bowl and stem, doing the kosher treatment, only to find, it was a grotty pipe like this, only to find when I started sanding and then polishing, the pipe had actually got a large crack all the way around the junction. I think it'd actually been repaired, and I was thinking then, if the pipe was then unsmokable, it would have been a bit of a waste of time. So now what I've started to do is I do a basic inspection of the pipe, obviously its condition up to press, and try and get a feel of the pipe. This one, for example, it has belonged to a right-handed smoker, so to say, James's uncle. Can you see how when he's been lighting, he's burnt the bowl away? You get a feel for what you want to do. So already after looking at this pipe, I want to sand it out, sand out all the teeth marks. I want the bowl and the silverwork to be nice and shiny, but I would like to keep this burnt edge as a bit of a tribute to James's uncle, and obviously it's part of the history of the pipe. So after you've done that, then what I'd suggest doing is, if you ream the bowl out, clean up the briar, get it to something like a finish, and do all your sanding and your stem work. And if everything is still all looking good and you've not found any hidden secrets or anything like that, get your kosher salt in and your alcohol. I'll show you how to do that in the next video. Get your kosher in and your alcohol, and get the internals of the pipe clean, and then move on to your final finish. So what you're going to need, or what I use for this first stage, is a reaming tool. Most of you might have one of these. This is a Terry's Hedgehog, which is quite a good name. I find more of an effective tool is this. It's a 1/2" rat tail file rasp, and then if you do a few restorations, and enjoy it, you might want to invest in one of these, which is a adjustable reaming tool with the 3 adjustable blades, and most have a drill for your air hole within the kit. The other thing that I like to use is this, which is a 12 gauge breech brush for cleaning shotguns. It's a brass wire brush. After your reaming and everything, this brush, with it being quite stiff, gives you a nice even smooth finish in the bowl. It's not really necessary, it's just something I like to do. They're not expensive. I realise most of you guys probably won't have one, but they're not expensive. Most online shooting supplies will sell them. And of course, sandpaper. You're going to need some wet and dry. Anything between 800 grit to 1500 should do it. I like to use 1200. Sandpaper. Normal sandpaper will do. I like to use this. It's a product what they use in car body shops, and it's called Abronet or Autonet, and it's a very flexible, almost like a Velcro. It's very good for not putting sanding lines in, with it being so flexible, and obviously you can see through it, so the dust doesn't congeal like it does on sandpaper, so it lasts a lot longer. But again, it's not necessary. I haven't got any to hand at the moment, but it's handy to have some wire wool, and that's about it really. That'll get you going to start with. I also like to, before I start, measure the bowl, the diameter and the depth of the bowl. Again, it's not necessary, but sometimes it's amazing how much carbon you take out of these bowls and how much bigger the bowl is afterwards. So I shall be doing that. So yeah, I think that's it for now. I'm going to put you on pause. I'll do a little bit of reaming and show you where I got to on this, which I believe is a 313 Peterson P-lip sterling silver band, and on this bent apple, which I believe is a 353. This one actually says made in Dublin, and this one says it's made in the Republic of Ireland, which I think is one of the main factors on how to date a Peterson. I've yet to research that, but that's something I'd like to know. So yeah, I'll do a bit of reaming and I'll see you in a minute. Hello. So I've been hard at work on this bent apple. I've got the thickest out. I'll just have to get this torch so you can see. It's very hard to do this. I do apologise. So it's looking quite well in there. But what you often find is, or what I found should I say, is you put this reamer in nice and straight and it's got perfectly parallel sides, but you might find inside the bowl here where the draft hole is, it can burn that away slightly, and if you've got burnt tobacco stuck onto that, that can actually get hot and burn the bowl out quicker. So what you might want to do is go in with a penknife or something like that by hand and just gently scrape away the rest of the carbon. Like I said before, you just need to scrape a little bit, empty it out, and take a good look. I mean, this is looking quite well inside now. There's two ways you can do it. You can ream it out until you're back to bare briar, or you can leave some of the carbon in. I will say, if it's a very old pipe that's been smoked a lot, I think it'll be nearly impossible to get that back to briar. So today I'll just be happy with cleaning out the bowl best we can, which, like I said, is coming together lovely. So I'll finish this off and we'll get this pipe to a similar stage, and then we'll talk about the next stage. So we're at a stage now where I'm happy with both bowls. I don't know if you can see in there. I'm really sorry about this. I'm not sure what else to do. So yeah, I'm happy with both bowls. So we need to look at the outside of the bowl. So I've got some, because the cake build-up is quite high on around the edge of the pipe, around the rim, I've got some 120. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the sandpaper down onto the surface here, and just gently rub it round in circles, regularly checking to make sure we're only actually taking the cake off the rim. As you can see, I've just got to, on this bottom edge here, you can just start to see the briar coming through. So that's where I'm going to stop with the rest of the bowl, just so you can see the briar coming through like that all the way around. Now all we need to do is go around the bowl with some wire wool and give it all a good clean. Get all the oil and grease that's accumulated on it over the years. Sometimes it's best to sand them first. I'd say with something like a 600 grit or something like that. But this, I believe it's just basically dirt on the pipe, so it should be fine just to wire wool it. So I'll catch you in a moment. So where we're at now is I did the rim of the bowl quite gently with some 120 grit, and then I've 600 grit the bad area on the side of this 313 pipe, and then I've been out over the whole pipe with wet and dry. I think I wire wool it first, then wet and dry, and I've done exactly the same with this. So they're ready for a little bit of polish, a little bit of polishing work to see exactly what they're going to look like. Also, with really mucky pipes like this, I found if you do all the bulk of your sanding, then peel this sheet off or whatever you're using, and get rid of that, wash your hands and come back, because when you're actually sanding the briar and you're taking all the muck away, you're leaving sort of bare grain, and the carbon and stuff can easily stain your pipe. So once you've got the thicky stuff, try and keep it as clean as you can. Now we're going to look at these stems. Try not to do any kind of abrasive sanding on the base of the stem, the dovetail or the spigot, because you don't want to end up with it being loose. So after you've finished sanding out all the teeth marks on the stem, and you've roughly sanded all the brown staining like that with something like this, this is a 240 grit, you're going to want to wet and dry the stems. I think it's also worth mentioning as well, if you've never restored a pipe before, this is just a guide on things you might like to try. This is just how I do it. I don't suggest you get your best pipe and start hacking at it. I mean, if you want to start doing it and you're not confident, probably buy a pipe off of eBay, somewhere like that, an estate pipe for, you know, little money. I've bought one recently, I haven't received it yet, to restore, £9.99, and then have a go, you know, do it to your best of your ability, and if it doesn't come out, you know, exactly how you'd like it, it's not a massive waste of money. So all I do is have a little pot of water, dip your wet and dry, I think this is 1200 wet and dry, and just literally round in circles. You don't want too much water. It works best when you've sort of built up a slight slurry. But basically all the water does, it acts as it basically turns the dust into a cutting compound, a bit like a fine tea cut, and it stops your sandpaper immediately getting blocked up, because it's so fine it'll easily get blocked up. So I'm going to go ahead and finish wetting and drying these stems, and then I'll catch up with you in a minute and we'll do some polishing. So I'm just finishing wetting and drying the stems. If you can see, that's as wet as it needs to be. And all I've been doing is, as you start to sand them with the 240 grit, and then go over them with the 1500, you can see patches where the brown stain in is, and patches where you've sanded through the brown staining and got to the black stem. So you might have to repeat it a couple of times, wet and dry it, wipe it off. You might see a little bit of brown staining, so go back over that with your 240, and then over again with your 1500, wipe it off, check it, keep doing that, and you should end up with something like that. So all the teeth marks have been removed, all the staining. Here's the other one, I'll just give it a quick wipe. And that's in the same boat. Now we can start polishing. There's all different things that you can use. I like to use this. I haven't tried many things, by the way, but this is where I've sort of stopped. And this is Sabinelli stem polish. So it's not actually open, this one, it's a new tin. And sometimes the lids are very tight actually. See what I mean? There you go. So all we're doing now is just rubbing a bit of this in. Again, we're not going for a full finish. We're just getting a feel for what the pipe's going to look like. It's got to be done, but you're going to have your fingerprints all over it and everything like that. So just get it half tidy, and then after we've done the kosher treatment, we'll go for a full polish, and it's white gloves time. So you should end up with something like that. When we've given it its final polish, it will end up looking like glass and be really nice. So I'm going to finish polishing this one and get ready for the final polish, and do the same with the other, and then we'll have a look at the bowls. So both stems are roughly polished. I've gone ahead and used some of this Sabinelli briar polish. It's just basically like a car polish to use. You put it on your bowl, let it go tacky, and buff it off. When you've buffed it off, you should end up with something like that. I don't know if you can see, it's got very nice grain, lovely bird's eye. So that's a rough idea what the pipe's going to look like when it's finished. So I'll just buff this one up for you, and you can have a look at this one. But basically there'll be a part 2 video to follow now, probably next week at some point, and then we'll do the kosher treatment, take a look at the pipes again, and the final polish, and that's sort of what you'll be left with. But I think I'm happy with how they're coming out. As you can see, I've left this black mark on here as a tribute to to Mr. Watson. I think that's going to come out fantastic. The final polish, the kosher treatment will make that beautiful. So, hope you guys have liked watching part 1. Look out for part 2, and as always, keep it lit.